Hello, people. Arsenal win 2-0 at Portsmouth. Hello, and welcome to the Goon Talk. Back in with you guys from the show. But fairly simple, that was. I mean, it's nice to experience a win after what has been a tumultuous week. It's fair to say. Not the best result in midweek, obviously. We're not going to dwell on that at all. And we're going to focus on today's result 100%. So I don't want to see any negativity in the chat. I want to see us happy and excited to talk about Arsenal reaching the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, which is something that we are no strangers to as the most successful club in the FA Cup history. So, yeah, very, very good stuff. We're going to get plenty of your comments in the chat box as well and get through some of your questions, I'm sure. Matthew Guy says, good win. Avon says, Mike Dean, what a card, or at least some four-letter word beginning with C. Nicely done, Avon. One of our members. If you'd like to join us as a member, please click that join button. Cameron Brooks says, Tom, how was Mari? Well, Mari was great. Mari was fantastic. I thought really we've seen a confident performance. Now, I know it's very easy to get carried away and say that, yes, it was only Portsmouth, but he was calm. His passing was good. He did a really, really good job, and I'm looking forward to seeing him in some more competitive fixtures as we move through. Mari was great, says Usman. Afternoon, Jersey. Rodney says, a win, but it's not surprising. One loss so far in 2020 is not too bad. Back to winning ways, says the same. Evening, Omar. Thank you for joining us. Abigail, right, what do you think of Tom? What do I think of Tom? What do you think of Mari? I thought he was great. I thought he was really, really good. Pablo Mari looking really good, says Military Gooner. Eddie calling the goals. And I think that ultimately it was good to see the kids get a run out. I was sceptical, it's probably fair to say, when I saw the lineup a little bit. I thought we might struggle. I thought there may be some issues with what we saw, basically depending on what we decide to go, or rather what Arteta went with. Socrates at right back. Seemingly when the lineup was announced, a lot of people thought we were going to be playing three at the back. That wasn't the case. We did decide to go over back four. I found it weird that people seemed to think it was going to be a back three because Arteta's not played that system at all. He has played Socrates at right back and has done it fairly successfully. We did it away in Olympiacos where we won 1-0. Again, not dwelling on that result. And he's done it in another game, I think, as well. And it's seemingly okay. It seems to add a little bit of steel to that right-hand side, especially when Nelson doesn't offer too much coming back. What it does mean is that Ainsley Maitland-Niles didn't play until right at the end for the last 2 minutes. And Manoj says there, Ainsley Maitland-Niles and Holdings days look numbered at Arsenal. Now, I don't know about Holding. Holding, I think, has got a lot more time. He's recovering from a long-term injury. But Ainsley Maitland-Niles looks really doesn't look like he's in Arteta's plans whatsoever. Let's see what you guys think about Ainsley Maitland-Niles. Do you think he's being treated unfairly? Do you think he should be getting minutes in games like we saw today? Or do you think that actually whatever Arteta thinks or is doing is completely justified and maybe he's not showing enough in that training session or in those training sessions that justifies him starting? Avon says, I think that's right. Ainsley Maitland-Niles is done. It'd be interesting to see what more of you guys think. Ainsley getting more game time than Ainsley Harriet getting more time than Ainsley Maitland-Niles right now. It's really, really strange. It's a really strange one. I still think it is. He follows that up by saying that Ainsley has an attitude problem. Interesting. I think we saw him obviously come out in the media and say that he's not a right back. Now, what that means is that obviously he's saying he's a midfielder, and to compete in that Arsenal midfield is very tricky for someone that is of not massive ability, I don't feel, Ainsley Maitland-Niles. And to compete with Guendouzi and Xhaka and Ceballos and Torreira and Willock and Ozil, you've got to really fight for those places, and you're just simply not going to do that in this Arsenal side. So that's probably why I've not seen Ainsley Maitland-Niles play, if at all. I mean, Joe Willock came off and Ainsley Maitland-Niles went on. It wasn't a case of us bringing Socrates on. It wasn't a case of us taking Saka off and putting him at left back. He was brought on to play in midfield, which tells me that that's where he's told Arteta that he wants to play and where he should be playing. And that probably means that he won't be at the club for too much longer. Martin says bringing him on for 2 minutes is pointless. David Keefe said, "Hi Tom. In the almighty words of the Who, the kids did all right. Yeah, they didn't. They did all right, mate. They definitely did." Mem27 says Arteta has treated Ainsley Maitland-Niles like you know what, and it is unjustified. I don't agree with that statement whatsoever. I don't think a manager, you could just suddenly say he's treating a player badly just because he's not starting them. He doesn't feel that he should be in the team, and we've only lost one game in 2020. I don't think that's down to us not selecting Ainsley Maitland-Niles. I don't think Arteta has done anything wrong with that whatsoever. Joseph, Ainsley Maitland-Niles should be getting chances. Ainsley Maitland-Niles has to leave to save his career, reckons Omar. Arsenal LFC 4444. Rodney says, I don't think it's fair to assume he has an attitude problem, but he doesn't seem to want the role that he's being given. And I probably think that's probably the most measured statement on Ainsley Maitland-Niles that we're going to get. Let's move on and talk about some of the other performances on the pitch. Let's talk about the man that got 2 assists. In that chat box, let me know what you thought of Rhys Nelson tonight. Rhys Nelson, who, if you remember earlier on in the season, could not cross to save his life. It's probably fair to say his crossing was weak, couldn't find a target. He couldn't really get too many minutes. And obviously, he has suffered a couple of injury setbacks this season. But Nelson was really, really fantastic. Took on players, beat his man, put really fantastic balls into the box, which ultimately led to both of Arsenal's goals. Omar reckons that he was man of the match. Rhys Nelson was superb, says Max Casper. Mem says Rhys Nelson should have been given man of the match. Carl Halberg says that Nelson was outstanding. My man of the match for sure. Interestingly now, he's obviously playing on that right-hand side. Pepe plays on that right-hand side. How many of you would be looking to say that if Pepe is going to continue to frustrate, as he does for a lot of people, holding on the ball for too long, whereas Nelson is a lot more proactive in maybe the way that he distributes the ball, would any of you be willing to drop Pepe in the upcoming fixtures and see Nelson take more of a leading role in the front line? Because I certainly think that he's showing what he needs to in order to do that. Martin McDermott says Nelson was hot tonight. Best game in a while, especially coming back from the injury. Job done, says Archie. Ross is asking who got man of the match in the end. I'm not sure who did get man of the match. Please let me know who that was in the chat. It's a good problem to have, says Cole, and I definitely agree with him. I think that when you've got 2 right-sided midfielders and right wingers, I think that you know that you've got a really good problem in that sense. And it does obviously lead to questions come the summer about who stays and who goes, but it is good to have composition in those areas. David Luiz was given man of the match, which is a bit of an odd one. Jermaine Genius, that one out. It was probably because of his experience and what he did, and to be on a charity man of the match, not to disregard David Luiz, but more so to credit Portsmouth in the game and give it to a defender of the better team, is a bit of a weird one. I think we all can agree that Rhys Nelson was definitely the guy that deserved that man of the match for sure. Archie reckons that Mari played well. Let's have a little bit of a focus on Pablo Mari. Are you thinking, like I'm thinking, that this Spaniard needs to be put into the starting lineup a lot more often? We've got Mustafi out injured. We don't know how long he's going to be out injured for. I think having David Luiz on the right-hand side makes him slightly better. It puts him on his stronger right foot and allows Mari to play on the left-hand side. We say Mari or Mari? I'm going to go with Mari, I think. But you'll probably end up hearing me say it the complete other direction anyway. What match did you watch, Tom? It says Lundberg Camp. The only match that was on, mate. The only match that was on. Max Casper says Nketiah should start on Saturday. Arsenal Forever says Mari looks a bit slow. And if you watched our tactical breakdowns, you would know that he isn't the fastest player in the world. But thankfully, his positional awareness is very good. His passing is very good. And that allows him to play the position that he does and get away with some of the things that maybe some other slow defenders might not do. William 86 says Martinelli needs a great mention. Obviously, when Martinelli plays, we just see the energy. The young Brazilian just gives you everything that you could possibly want from a young, attacking-minded wing player. I think that there's a big call out to see Aubameyang start through the middle and then to see Martinelli play out on the left with Pepe, or even arguably, based on tonight's performance, Rhys Nelson playing on that other side. I think there's a big chance that we could see some very young players starting to field this Arsenal first team in the Premier League with Aubameyang playing through the middle, because Lacazette just shouldn't be getting a look in right now at the form that he's in. He shouldn't be starting games. He shouldn't be playing until he gets back on form, and that's going to come from making appearances off the bench, I'm afraid. So if Arteta continues to put faith in Lacazette in a striking role, that's going to be a really big criticism of the Spaniards' coaching and management style and selection process, because he just simply doesn't deserve to be starting when you've got the likes of Nketiah scoring, Aubameyang scoring week in, week out. And that's going to create a big problem, especially in the fan base, and could split quite a few people down the middle, I think. Martinelli's work rate is amazing. He's still raw, but he shows a lot of desire. I love that as a fan. Martin McDermott says Martinelli and Eddie won back so much possession, and that's really key for Arsenal, is winning the ball higher up the pitch. We need to start counter-attacks as soon as possible, and by winning the ball in the final third of the opposition, we really desperately need to add that more to our game so we can put the pressure on. I do like how we're seeing that the younger players are clearly being taught the philosophy that Arteta wants us to play, which is a high pressing style, winning the ball back high up the field as much as possible without leaving too many gaps. That does unfortunately make us slightly vulnerable to our own counter-attacks or our own being able to be pressed and passed through. And if they do make it past the midfield, that defence is very weak and very vulnerable still. And hopefully we will eventually start to see, with recruitment and with coaching and development, improvements in that side. Tashi says, relieved to hear that Torreira's injury isn't that serious. I haven't heard any of the latest on Torreira. I heard that he didn't end up going to hospital, which is a good sign, but it looked really, really bad at the time. It was quite an innocuous foul. It didn't look like it hurt him too badly, and I genuinely thought it was a classic, just he's taking a bit of a hit, he's going to roll around for a bit and then get back up and be fine. But he looked genuinely in a lot of pain. That ankle's clearly damaged, whether it's ligament or a strain or a sprain, I had no idea. But I'll be interested to hear what obviously Arteta says, and then I imagine they're going to do a scan on that for Tuesday or Wednesday rather. So we'll have to wait and see. I hope it's not too bad, because he can be a really important and key player for us. But that's slightly worrying considering the injury that he did get. Tekos Man says, Eddie is an instinctive scorer. We should sell Laka and roll with Eddie. I think there's a big argument, 100%, to say that Lacazette should be moved on this summer and Eddie should be allowed to develop more and be given more minutes. The interesting thing is then, do you go out and buy another striker, or do you put your faith in the combination of Aubameyang and Eddie Nketiah, bearing in mind that then Aubameyang might not be here next season? So do you then go out and sell both Aubameyang and then sell Lacazette, bring in another striker, which puts another block in Eddie's route? Because if you think about it, if you're in Eddie's position right now, you're looking at Lacazette, he's not scoring goals, you're getting in ahead of him in the Premier League side and in the FA Cup team as well. You've got Aubameyang with 12 months left on his contract. He could then leave in the summer, which leaves the route completely open for you. Arsenal get 80 million quid for the pair of the two strikers, which I think is probably still a little bit ambitious, maybe. And then they spend that money on bringing in another forward, which could then block the route if he's a younger player. So it's a really weird situation that Nketiah is in right now. I think if we bring in another forward, he has to be the guy that we back to be the backup striker next season, 100%, the second striker. And then you've got the likes of Balogun coming through in the youth side that you have to probably send out on loan. John Jules is away, I believe, with Lincoln this season and has been scoring a few goals too. So there's loads of youth coming through that will want to know that there is routes and opportunities available at Arsenal for them to come through the ranks. We don't want to keep seeing these young players come through and then leave. The likes of Gnabry going off and doing so well. There's other players that have left. Benassa, for instance, AC Milan, after having a fantastic season at Empoli. Maybe we do let some of these players go too early, and we can't let that happen with the likes of Nketiah. Emile Smith-Rowe, possibly in danger of leaving after returning from Huddersfield. There's links that we could be moving to RB Leipzig. They're keen on him. They like him. Could it be involved with a deal for Upamecano? Maybe. Who knows? But I just don't think that we should be looking to move on those youngsters too quickly. I have my doubts about some of them, and I've put that on record plenty of times, as people know, and as people like to bring up all the time. But ultimately, they've got to show that on the pitch, and Nketiah definitely did that today, 100%. Let's have a look at some more of your comments. Avon says, we will sell Alba if he doesn't sign an extension. That is highly likely. Carl says, I agree. We should keep Alba. But he won't be an Arsenal player for as long as Eddie. I'm just saying we don't need to necessarily buy a replacement when Alba does move on. The problem with that is, Carl, is that if you don't sign a replacement for Alba, and I'm assuming in that you're probably keeping Lacazette, is that you possibly keep a striker that's going to be out of form for a very, very long time. We don't know when he's going to come back into form. We don't even know what his mental state could be like if he loses his partner in crime in Aubameyang. So it's a real tough situation, I think, that we find ourselves in. ESR is having a very good loan at Huddersfield, by the way. He is, and he ripped Charlton apart, which my other half wasn't too happy about, not for sure. Military Guna, Mari is not slow. Very good body angles when receiving the ball. Takes up very good positions on the field, which allows the build-up play flowing better and also allows midfielders to close in, says Military Guna. I think that to say he's not slow is, I think it's deceptive, because I think that he isn't the quickest of centre-backs, but I think his positioning on the pitch is quite deceptive in that it makes you think he's faster because he's seemingly always in the right place at the right time. But actually, it's his good spatial and positional awareness that allows him to be deceptive in that way, for sure. Military Guna has been agreed with by Martin in terms of our last chat about Mari. Taib says, Tom, do you think that Arsenal will sign Thomas Partey? No, I don't. I think that we're certainly, I think we're 100% interested in him, but I don't think that we're going to sign him because I don't think he'd move to a club that doesn't have Champions League football. Why would you leave Atletico for Arsenal? It is a step down. I hate to say it as an Arsenal fan, but going from Atletico Madrid to Arsenal is a step down. Although saying that, Atletico aren't really in the best position in La Liga right now, but I would imagine for them to just sneak back into the Champions League places come the end of the season. They're only a point or two behind Getafe, I think. Getafe having a fantastic season, which will then mean that people will go out and say we should go and get, I believe it's Bordalas at Getafe, and that is not someone I want to see at Arsenal. If you watch Getafe play, I don't want any of that at Arsenal. None of it whatsoever. Losing Alba means missing out on 20 goals a season, says Mogos. It does, unless you replace him. And if you replace that amount of goals, then obviously it's not so bad. Barca are interested in Lautaro, which obviously could mean that Aubameyang doesn't end up going there. But there's other clubs across the continent and obviously England that would be interested in Aubameyang, and he would be interested in a move if it comes up. Atletico Madrid could be looking for a striker in the summer. Aubameyang is a bit of an odd fit for them, but you've got the likes of Real Madrid who've only got Benzema there. I know that they're going to go all out, most likely, for Mbappe this summer. We're just going to have to wait and see. Rodney, Tom, can this squad get Champions League football this year? I think that's a big, big ask. I think that you'd need the other teams to mess up a lot. It might be interesting to do a live show with you guys where we discuss all of the different routes that Arsenal could take in terms of going through our fixtures and our competitors' fixtures, and then see how we end up come the end of the season based on our predictions. It might be quite fun to do that. Let me know what you think about that. Matthew Gunner says, what about Guendouzi? I thought he did all right in that deeper role today, and maybe Arteta can mould him into a deep-lying playmaker. The issue with Guendouzi is that he's one, volatile, and I just want to put on the record that yellow card for him from Mike Dean was absolutely ridiculous. It's petty. It is petty, and it's a shame because for those of you that don't listen to the Peter Crouch podcast, Mike Dean was on there with the guys, and I actually thought he came across very, very well. And it kind of changed my view on Mike Dean a little bit. But then when you watch him in a game and how he does that, it's just sickening. It's really boring. It's really, really boring. Guendouzi was all right, says Omar. Arsenal Forever says Guendouzi is taking too much in terms of, I think, maybe criticism. I think he's okay. I think he's a good player. He's still very, very young. I think he's very... Again, that word deceptive comes up in the case of how old we think he is. I don't think he's anywhere near as mature as he should be for a player at his age in terms of, I think he's still got a lot more growth to do. And that is fine for where he is at right now. I have no issues with that whatsoever. Martin McDonough hates Mike Dean. And can you blame him? Can you blame him? That's probably where we're going to end things off there today. I think that we've done really, really well to come over what is an informed Portsmouth side where we put out the kids. I know that sounds pretty, I don't want to use the word pathetic, but, it's Portsmouth. I know it's Portsmouth, but at the end of the day, they're doing really well. You can only beat the team that's in front of you, and we put out a fairly inexperienced side tonight, and we came away with the win, and now we're in the quarterfinals. I'm really excited to see what happens with the draw and the other teams that are going in it right now. In fact, before we wrap things up, why don't we just have a look at the other teams that are still in and who you might want to get in the next round. So the FA Cup fixtures, we've got Chelsea, Liverpool. that's interesting. Hopefully, do I want Chelsea to win that? Probably. I think they're more beatable than Liverpool, even though we just watched Watford smash them. West Brom, Newcastle. I have a feeling that West Brom are going to probably win that one because they've got a really good. Obviously, they're doing really well in the Championship. They lost at the weekend, I know, against an informed Wigan side, but still, I think that West Brom will probably nick that against Newcastle. Reading, Sheffield United. I think Sheffield United will probably steal that one. Spurs, Norwich. Who knows with Spurs right now? I hope they obviously lose, but I'm just not sure. Leicester, Birmingham. You expect Leicester to go through there, and Man City, Sheffield Wednesday. Where you'd expect Man City to go through there as well. So some really, really interesting ties. Arsenal could end up getting a very, very tough draw in the next round if those big teams do go through. I really, really don't know. I don't know. I think that there's a chance we can get to the semis. There's definitely a chance we can get to the semis. I think there's a chance we can get to the final. But to win this competition with Man City, Chelsea, Spurs, Liverpool still in it is a big, big ask. Leicester as well, of course, not discrediting those guys. So very, very difficult one. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Thank you ever so much for listening. Please make sure you drop a like on the video. There'll be a tactical breakdown out for you guys tomorrow. I'm hoping talking about Domenico Berardi of Sassuolo, who's been linked to us today. So obviously I'm going to get the man Rich Hall from Football Italia to come on and give you some insight on him. So I'm looking forward to doing that. I'll see you again very, very soon tomorrow. Please drop a like on the video. Please subscribe if you're new around here, and I'll see you very soon. And as always, up the Arsenal.